Hey, I'm Munira, a consultant by profession, but a storyteller at heart. This is Munira's Musings, a place to talk about real stories, the thoughts we carry, the questions we ask, and the moments that have shaped who we are. If you're looking for honest conversations, small sparks, insight, inspiration, and ideas, then you're in the right place. Let's talk, let's grow, let's begin. Greetings from Chicagoland. Hi, everybody. This is Munira. Welcome to Munira's Musings, where every story is more than just a story. It's a spark that can light a way to change. We are here this week with Stefan. He's all the way in Qatar, and he is going to talk to us about what he does because he's a life coach. Welcome to Munira's Musings, Stefan.
Thank you, Munira. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know that each week we sit down with remarkable guests whose journeys reveal lessons, insights, and fresh perspectives that might just challenge your thinking. But this isn't just about listening. It's about pausing to jot down the ideas that resonate and then find ways to bring them to life in your own world. Because real growth begins with inspiration and then it meets with action, let's lean in together and see what today's conversation unfolds. So Stefan, welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am on chapter 57 of my life journey, and it's been an interesting, it's been an interesting few chapters recently. Before that, I always wanted to be in music when I first started this journey as a teenager, and that kind of led me into the TV industry in the UK and abroad. And then, then I went through a divorce, and then I met my lovely wife that I am with now, and we end up living here in Qatar, where I left the TV industry and I set up my own film production company. And then that came crashing down during COVID, and I tried to pick up the pieces, but during that time I found life coaching while I was picking up the pieces, and in the end I closed my business and I've launched myself as a full-time life coach and mentor, and that's where you find me today. And basically where I decided that while I was launching my life coaching and mentoring business, I would explore TikTok. And, there's a huge pushback with TikTok. You get a lot of people saying, well, no one with a brain goes on TikTok. And I thought, no, there's got to be someone, or there's got to be some people of 1.5 billion people that are on the platform that use TikTok. And I thought, I'm just going to show up as me. I'm just going to create a space where people can just show up, and whatever's on their mind, just let it out. And I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to interfere. I'm just going to give them the space. And last year I launched, and now I've got over 50,000 followers. And that's me showing up every single day of giving people the space just to let it out, whatever's going on in their head.
That's amazing. Now, TikTok we're not going to talk about political views and everything else, but I'm curious about you. So Stefan, tell me, where did you start your journey? Like, you have an accent. You moved to Qatar from where?
Well, yeah, that's very interesting, because I was born in the UK. I was born in a small town called Reading in Berkshire in the UK. And then we moved around. Every time my dad got promoted, we would move around the UK every 2 to 3 years. So I've lived in town to town, from Reading to Tunbridge to Nottingham to Newbury to Bromley to Birmingham. And then I moved when I was working over to Italy in Rome. So my accent is just a collective of, different accents around the UK and maybe abroad, because I've been here in Qatar for the last 19 years.
Okay, so is it a culture shock, Qatar?
Initially, I would say yes, but really, because I'm half English, half Swedish, so I was brought up by two different nationalities. So I've always been on the fence between, watching one side and the other, and how, the different nationalities are different. So, coming over to to Qatar wasn't that much of a culture shock, because now I'm just sitting on the fence looking at another culture and seeing how they, and also Qatar is a wonderful country because it's just a collective of so many different nationalities. I love the fact that I've got 2 children here that were born here, and they go to school and they've got 88 different nationalities showing up at that school. And, no one sees any, everyone is different. Even my children are different. One's got bright red hair, the other one's just got brown hair, but, no one picks on anyone because they're all different. Where if my son was in the UK, he would be picked on just because of the color of his hair. But because you've got all these different nationalities, it's just beautiful because everyone is different. So there's nothing to take the mickey out of, or, take the fun out of, because they are so different, and everyone sees each as just as a friend. It doesn't matter what color, it doesn't matter what religion, you're my friend. And I think that's beautiful.
That's how it's supposed to be, right? In the world, that's how it's supposed to be.
Wouldn't it be a great world if that was the case, that we just saw each other for who we were and not because of our color, or because of our race, because of our religion? It would be great.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about life coaching. So you left your media, you did your life, you did movie production, and all of a sudden you said, I'm done with this. Let's move on in life. And you decided, okay, life coaching. So what exactly do you life coach on?
Well, just before that, the reason why I found life coaching was because during COVID and my company was collapsing, I just found myself from being on top of the mountain, as an entrepreneur, building my business, and I got to the peak. And I was enjoying the success of that in 2019. And then COVID comes along and goes, nope, I'm going to kick you off the mountain. And I found myself at the bottom of the mountain. And I kept on looking up. And I found myself in the hole of depression. I found myself in depression. And everyone around me was going, it's all right, Stefan, you can get back up there. And I was looking up at this mountain visually. And I thought, I've done it. Why do I want to go up there again? And it wasn't until something inside of me said, look, you've always, the way you ran your business was always looking out for people. You created a space where people could feel they could be their best version, and you gave them the space to grow. And, I started to do videos before, while I was running my business, just to encourage people, just giving positive messages. But it only came from my experience. So I really didn't know what I was doing. And something inside of me, while I was in that deep, dark hole of depression, said, you need to learn about coaching, because I had helped other coaches along the way with podcasts, set up their own podcasts, etc. So I'd always been on the sideline watching, and I signed up during COVID when I was in depression. And in one of the sessions, because it was an 8-week intensive course, one of the sessions I was with the coach, and the coach said, all right, you see the mountain, but what else? You keep on looking up at the mountain and you feel stuck, but what else is around you visually? And when I looked around, I saw these beautiful rolling hills and beautiful pine forest, and I went, oh, that's where I want to go. And this huge weight came off my shoulders. It was just, wow, that's where I'm going. And then the next day I went into work, and I had a skeleton staff left working for me, and I said, look, we're never going to go back up where we were, where we came from. We're never going to be that company again. This is how we're going to work. We're going to be lean. We're going to be, we're going to expand if we get any work, but we're going to operate in a completely different way. Are you on board? If you're not, if you think that you want to go back the way it was, then I don't need you. I don't need you hanging on. And they said, yeah, we're all on board. Unfortunately, they weren't. They might have said the right thing, but they weren't. And, I ended up dragging, the remnants of my company through those 3 years, focused on this new vision. But in the meantime, I was doing coaching on the side. And in the end, I came to the realization, what am I doing? I can't keep on dragging this company along anymore. I've got to let it go. So I let it go. And then I decided, okay, life coaching is for me, because something inside of me just lit up. It was just something that, when you're doing coaching, you realize that you should be listening to your intuition. You should be, listening. And I was like a detective. Anytime I had a client show up, I felt like I was a detective. I was listening to the words. I was feeling the energy that I was getting from the client. And I was just like, wow, I love this. This is amazing. These are like these detective shows where you go into a murder scene, and, they can already see where the splatters of blood and how, what had happened. They recreate it in their mind. And that's what I do when I sit down with a client. I'm literally recreating where you're standing, by the words that you're saying. I'm seeing the words that you're using, which are holding you back like anchors, and I unravel it all. And I've learned that as well as a good coach, I'm a good mentor as well, because coaching is very much about asking the questions, getting
Right.
you to do all the work. But I love to mentor as well. So I like to push you. I like to, give you, guidance because there's a lot of people that don't know what the next step is, especially, if they want to apply for work, they don't know the right way of doing things. So I give them the tools to help them in finding the right job, telling them that they've got to do the research, connecting with people that come from their country or their town, just to network, rather than just throwing your CV at people and not getting any response. So
Right.
I like to mentor and I like to coach, and that's my power. And just by me showing up on a daily basis on TikTok, it's really made my muscle of being a coach, being a mentor, stronger and stronger and stronger. And now it's just I don't hold back, because a lot of time when you first start out on the coaching path, you're always doubting yourself. You're always doubting, what should I say next? Oh, I'm getting this feeling, but maybe I shouldn't say that because I might make a fool of myself. And now I just trust the whole process. I just literally, sometimes I can be quite hard on clients as well as people that I do the live with, but it's just people hear that it's authentic. People hear that it's coming from my heart. They know it's not ego driven. And a lot of people are just following me on a day-to-day basis, and they see that, wow, this is something that I've never seen before, that someone's willing to show up every single day and he speaks from the heart. There's no malice, there's no any angle, any trying to sell us anything. He's generally showing up just to help us wherever you're from in the world. And that's, if you go on my feed, you'll realize that I've got everyone from Africa, the Middle East, South Asia that are following me, and I'm just a white guy that's literally singing from the heart. And I think people find it unusual that here's a guy that's willing to help me. I might be in Sudan and I've lost my job and I don't know where to go, and now I'm phoning into this guy, and he's giving me the time, because I'm not literally looking at my clock and going, yeah, come on, tell me. It's just like, I'll give you all the time in the world, because your story matters. Your story is affecting someone else who might be in that same position. So you're important showing up. Your story matters. You bring wisdom and you give guidance to other people just by telling your story of where you are and what you're going through. And yeah, I love it.
I love the fact that you are saying this, because that's part of my mission as well, and hence the platform. But here's the thing: is like when you in coaching, like you said, is about pulling all of the information from the person, that you make them think, you make them find the answers within themselves, and you just help them go to the dark crevices that we've created and just not go there anymore. I don't want to go there because it's hard. It's not only hard, it's scary too. But as entrepreneurs, and you figured out a different niche in all of this. So what I'm hearing as an entrepreneur is that it's okay if something doesn't work to come back down and start again, as long as you have the drive. Most people then lose that drive and think, I don't know where to start again. And that's the problem. Like, I see you agreeing with me.
100%. And that's what I have a lot of people that are lost and they just don't know where to go. And that can be from students that are doing a course that they never signed up for. It was their parents, the pressure of their parents, and they're at burnout even before they get to the line, or entrepreneurs or people that are stuck in industries, but they have that entrepreneurial mindset that they want to do something else, or they're just in a dead-end job and they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do. So I unravel all that. I basically get them to tell me what their journey was like before that. I get them to reveal what the heart wants to do, because a lot of the time we find ourselves in a situation where it's been head-led, it's been ego-driven, or it's literally the autopilot has literally kept us in a safe space and ticked all the boxes for everyone else, rather than looking after themselves. And I unravel all that. And I basically, when I start hearing the heart and I tune into the heart and what that wants, because if you think, a lot of people are, because they're head led, they're dragging this lifeless body along.
Right.
And, they're doing the best they can. But, that head will burn out because it's got no energy from anywhere else in the body. And we overthink, we're grabbing at things because when we're head led, we think, oh yeah, that's a good idea, well, let's try that, and then we find ourselves down a dead end. Oh yeah, no, that's a nice shiny object, let's go there. And we've stopped communicating with the heart. And that's my job, is to go, when you were younger, what put a smile on your face? What did you love to do when you were younger? It could be playing football, it could be something creative, but then you break it down even further and say, well, what was it about football that you like to do? Well, it was being in a team. It was having that responsibility of, carrying the team and scoring the goal. Or it was, oh, I'm going to be the goalkeeper, so the responsibility is to make sure that ball is kept out. So when I hear that, then I basically open their minds up and say, hey, look, that's your heart speaking. Now, where you're at now, let's not ignore that you've managed to get where you are. Well done. Kudos to your, to your mind. But, your journey will be even better if you start listening to that heart and what it wants to do. Now, that could be something on the side while you're doing the job that you're doing, or it could be something that you work with the head and the heart to focus on what you really want moving forward. And when people start hearing what the heart wants and feel that shift in energy, you hear it in their voice, you feel the shift change in energy, and it's amazing. And that's mostly my show, is literally hearing where they are and then going back and finding out, when did the disconnect happen? When did the head decide, okay, look, we need money, and we've got all these responsibilities, we've got the family on our backs, we need to just knuckle down and do the best we can. And that's right. The head. The heart gets disconnected. It's just like, no, you've got no place in this, here. We've got to do what we've got to do. And they think that's it. And then the energy just starts to disappear, because now they're getting burnt out. They're seeing that they have no future anymore because of what they're doing, and keeping everyone looked after. But I make them realize that, look, if it wasn't for you, if you weren't here, who's going to look after your family? Who's going to look
right.
after your relatives, etc., etc.? And when they realize that you've got to take care of you. You are the main person here. And if you don't take care of you, there's no one else to take care of the rest of the family. So looking after you is important. But that doesn't mean that, where you are now, that's the end of the world. You've got to start thinking about, what resonates from the heart and where you want to go on this life journey. Because when you find that, when you get that energy shift, you will have everyone follow you. You will have more success, rather than, because your energy is shifted, and now you're going into work and you're looking at work in a completely different way, because now you see things differently, where before you were just like, oh, here we go again, back to work, back to the grindstone, right. Back on that wheel. And you weren't looking at opportunities because you didn't know where you were going. You just thought this was it, this is what I need, and this is supporting everyone else. So give up on yourself and don't bother, just show up every single day. But people feel that in the company that you're working. They feel that there's there is no because you've just decided that that is all what life is going to give you. But life will give you more if you raise that frequency, if you believe in yourself and that you can do better, and you've got a vision and goals to move forward to. That shift in energy, people will feel it.
I love this. Thank you so much. So in all of this, you see there's a pattern in all of the people that come to you. What is the one thing that you know for sure that anytime you have a new client and you're talking to them, this is the problem, because it's a problem with everybody? Do you think it's a lack of confidence and fear? Is that what it is?
No, it's generally, our autopilot is programmed from our parents, from our schools, from our community, and from the experiences that we had as a young child. And we run with that without any question. We don't question it. And that's that little voice in our head that shows up. And, I ran with it. I ran with it for a very long time. And that's why I know. It wasn't until, I read The Untethered Soul the book that you've got to question this voice in your head. That isn't you. That is the programming that you had when you were younger. And it was just like, what? I've never questioned it. I've always just said what it wants to say. So a lot of us, and I kind of look at it in a way that, look, you've been in a car and you haven't had the hands on the wheel of the car. You've just allowed the car, the programming is the car. It's in autopilot mode, and that car has literally kept you safe. It's moved with whatever, it was presented, and it's kept you, safe, but it hasn't taken you on any adventures because it didn't really know where you were going. So it's just kind of meandering along. And the majority of people are in this car without any question because it's safe. It's okay. It's given us an okay life. But when I say, look, if you want to make changes, if you know that there's something missing in your life, if you know that it could be better, you need to start taking control of that wheel. You need to put your hands on the wheel. And I call it the biological reset button. And I only know this because I did it. I went through it. I found out what that was. And it all starts with sleep. And it's amazing. As soon as you ask someone about their sleep, they go, oh yeah, kind of been ignoring that. Yeah, I only have about 2 hours sleep. Oh yeah, I only, go to bed about 12 o'clock, wake up at 7, 8, I don't know. And it's just like, well, this is your first port of call of where you need to start taking control of your life. And, let's get the body clock aligned. That's between 9 and 10 o'clock. If you want to get everything in sync and working correctly, let's focus on go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock. And then let's focus on 7 hours sleep. And the reason why I say 7 hours sleep, because the latest research is that they found out that the brain creates all these toxins during the day because of the way it functions. And during the night, it flushes it all out. The brain flushes out all the toxins during the night. And it needs a good 7 hours. So I say, look, go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock. But again, you're in control now. So look at when you go to bed and what you do before you go to bed, what time you eat and what time you switch off that screen time, because you need the good buffer zone between when you finish eating to when you go to bed, because there's no point you eating and then going straight to bed, because your body needs to digest it, so it's working. So you're not going to get quality sleep if you just eat and then go to sleep. Your body's still going, hey, look, you want to switch off, but I've got all this food to digest. And that's the same with your mind as well, is the fact that you can't just switch off the screen and expect your mind just to switch off. Your mind is already, envisioning everything that you've been watching, taking in all the information, and it's trying to process it all, even when you switch off the screen. So give yourself a buffer zone of half an hour after you switch off the screen. So that's the first thing. And then the 7 hours. So when you wake up in the morning, if you go to bed at 9, you wake up at 4. If you go to bed at 10, you wake up at 5. Then what do? Well, morning prayer. If you're religious, morning prayer. But a lot of people do morning prayer just out of habit, just out of respect for their religion, for their parents. They've just got into the habit of just showing up, saying the words, and then getting on with their life, and not really focusing on these beautiful words and the real connection. And I'm saying, look, if you're religious, this is your time. This is your special time to connect. This is your time to really focus on the words. And why I'm saying that is because when you do that, what you notice is, hey, there's a little voice in your head going, what are you doing? We've never done this before. Oh, what are we going to have for lunch? Oh, what did your aunt say? What did she say yesterday? And it's trying to disrupt you. It's trying to, get your focus away from saying the words. So I say, now you're becoming the observer of that little voice. Now that little voice isn't you. You are the person that has the intention of showing up and really focusing on the words, really connecting. That is you. This little voice in your head is not you. So now you observe. You can observe it now. But also now you become the master, because you'll tell the little voice, no, this is my time. This is my time to connect. This is my time to really focus on the words. And that's a wow factor for a lot of people, because they've always thought that this little voice in their head was them, and they had to do everything that it said. They had to react to everything it said. But now you're giving them a moment in time where this is important, and this is their intention. And they're basically holding the wheel and going, no, this is my time. This is my special connection. And if you're not religious, then it's just focusing on your breathing. If you say meditation, people get like, the mind just takes over and goes, oh, meditation, that's a bit woo-woo, and
Right.
Whatever. So I go, no, just focus on your breathing for 1 minute. 1 minute just to start
Right.
off. Just close your eyes and focus on your breathing, because you will hear that little voice complain. It will go, what are you doing? But you come back and say, no, it's just 1 minute out of 24 hours. Just for me, my intention, just to focus on my breathing. And it will try and pull you back. It will distract you. So this is a great way of realizing that that voice is not you. You can become the observer, and then you can become the master and basically say, this is my time. This is what I want to do. So you've got the hands on the wheel. And then the third thing is exercise. Now, a lot of people, when you say exercise, it means getting hot and sweaty, sore muscles. But what I say is no, focus on the feeling, because the mind likes to focus on how we look. It's all about losing weight, etc. No, we're not doing that. We're doing exercise to feel good, to focus on the feeling after we've done half an hour of just going out for a walk, being mindful of our surroundings, taking in a few deep breaths. You notice how you will feel just for half an hour walking. You'll feel amazing. Or maybe stretching for half an hour, or maybe a little bit of yoga, or go to the gym. But when you go to the gym, just push some light weights. We're not there to be an Olympic athlete. If we go for a run, we're not there to run marathons or become an Olympic athlete again. We're just there to tune into the feeling. And that's what the mind doesn't like. When the next day, and it goes, oh no, stay in bed, take it easy. You go, no, I love the way I felt after I just went for a walk for half an hour. I'm going to show up again. And it go, oh yeah, no, the feeling of staying in bed is much, no. I know what it feels like when I get up and how it affects me for the rest of the day. So with these three things, you're looking after mind, body, and soul. And this is your first point of call of taking control of your life. Once you do that, after 2 weeks, because, we're overwriting, those programming that we've had before. So it's not easy, even though if you think about it, it should be the easiest thing. What? Go to bed, wake up, do prayer or meditation, and then just do some light form of exercise. Should be easy, but no, it's this that we're working against, and this is what we're trying to overwrite. And it's not easy, but once you've done it for a couple of weeks, you'll feel the benefits. And also with the sleep, with the 7 hours, your mind will become less foggy. You will become clearer in your vision. You will be waking up with 100% fully charged, and the mind doesn't like that. We know when we're tired how grouchy we can.
Love the tips. Thank you so much. So Stefan, I'm so sorry about that, but I love to talk to you more. It's about timing. Where do we find you?
Find me on TikTok. That's the first port of call. I'm on @SLJCoach, and you can see everything about me on that TikTok page. And you can find links to everywhere else, all my other social medias and my website. So just meet me on TikTok. I'm there every single day, and you've got all the information there. So please join me.
I love it that there's only one channel and that you haven't let anybody astray with so many different things, right? Everybody does that. So one channel on TikTok, and SLJ Coach. Thank you so much for being here. I love the tips that you just shared, the 3 things. Meditate in the morning, wake up in the morning, pray or breathe, and then exercise. I love that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, timing is such a problem, right? 1 minute just goes by so fast. But that's the wrap for today's episode of Munira's Musings. I am Munira, and it's been an honor to share this journey with you and Stefan with you. Thank you for tuning in, leaning into stories that connect us. Remember, insight is only the beginning. Take what resonated, write it down, start putting it into practice. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep giving your life, your business a voice. Thank you.